Welcome, everyone.
Everybody.
Blessings.
I'm just waiting for it to come up on my phone so I can share it to my page. Here we go.
Mm. I love the background that I created it for us last time. I'm just like, I don't know where I have it. I need to get it back.
No, I've got all of these amazing kind of pictures that you
I'm
create.
gonna make them so they can be like a video too for you, or yeah, so they're
Oh,
just
thank
like
you.
moving. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, here we go. We're on. We're on.
Yay.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Hello, Mia. How are you?
Hi, team. I'm good. I'm adjusting after almost 1 month in Brazil
Fresh out
with
of the jungle.
no 5G, super pure food,
Hmm.
out of line, offline. I was offline for a long time, longer than I've ever been, I think. So I'm trying to adjust and be neutral in what I observe without judging it and getting angry of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's it's really quite exceptional what we are witnessing and experiencing. I mean, obviously, while you were still over there, Pluto moved from Capricorn into Aquarius, which was presented very loudly by the higher realms as the dawn or the day of the dawn of the age of Aquarius. So it's a massive movement of energy, but obviously we're still seeing in real time the kind of the howlings of the matrix, as I call it, all around us. And particularly in there's certain places around the world where we are really feeling this and seeing it and witnessing it more intensely than in other parts. And obviously in Sweden, it's very prominent. In the UK, couldn't be any more prominent if you tried. So
Yeah.
it's all about holding the line, holding the light, remain, like you say, remaining neutral about what you are witnessing and what you are observing and then experiencing at the same time. But also on the other side of the coin, the saying "take no shit" begins to become very apparent as well.
Yes. Yeah, and just practicing the virtues of God and Christ consciousness, which is like no harm, no harm,
Yeah.
harmlessness. And anytime any other energy tries to come into our field as it streams so much through the 5G right now, to just observe that this is not me, as I said, to not get angry, right? That energy is not mine. It's not anger is not our essence. So just practicing breathing, coming back into alignment, no harm, harmlessness, that's my virtue. This is what I'm here to do. But I feel also like we're really here in this new time of like, okay, why am I here? And that's a question we've been asking for 30 years if we've been on this journey, right? 30 years, some of you have been here 20, 10, some of you 1 year, a few months. But the question that is always like, why am I here, right? And that seems to keep changing as our awareness and an awakening keep upgrading and leveling up. But it's really now like I feel this is like this time of how can I stay in my multidimensional awareness and yet be grounded in this present moment, right? Like, how can I, because that's a little bit overwhelming sometimes. Now we have awakened, we understand who we are, like, really, we're like connecting to parts of us in other dimensions, other realities, and yet we know we're here a very short time and we're here to practice gratitude, to experience and enjoy and honor this personality we have chosen. And that's a little bit of a glitch sometimes, right? It can be like, okay, I want to just be in the multidimensional awareness and kind of escape from my personality, or I go too deep into my personality and all the stories that are going on right here. So how do I make this beautiful unity between the two of those? This is what is right now going on for many of us.
It is. It's a real case of knowing when to work and when not to work,
Mm.
working smarter, not harder. And that is very applicable to exactly how you've just said. It's like, how far do you want to go with the shadow work? How far do you want to go with your story? How far do you want to go with your personal experience? And I feel that we're getting all of the opportunities to work through what we need to work through without having to dig for it. I
Mm.
think if you've got the time and the space at the moment to be digging in and deliberately kind of like, oh, I'm a little bit bored. I think I'm going to go and lock myself in my house for a couple of weeks and do some really deep shadow work. Then it's I personally think we've got more than enough to be getting on with what's being presented to us to actually not have to do that. So in many cases it's returning to roots, returning to nature. You know, if we're feeling out of sorts or a little bit, I'm noticing a lot of agitation in the field. You know, people not kind of knowing what's next, what's coming up, what do I do with my energy, or why haven't I got any energy? It's just get outside in nature and really ground yourself in. Listen to what Gaia has to say about it, because everything that we're experiencing is happening in real time upon her surface. So obviously she's very keyed in and very tuned into where the density is or where the high frequency energies are, why they're occurring, and what the kind of the roadmap for the immediate future actually is, dependent on the timeline. It's all kind of mixed in with each other. So here we are approaching the last month of the year, with an incredible mishmash of energies, and ultimately the outcome of our reality is all down to how we are personally projecting our own experiences into the field and what our mechanisms actually are. So it's a fine line that we're treading.
Mm.
I'm definitely hearing the work smarter, not harder. Be in yourself, be present, and witness the field as much as possible.
My guides and God had been saying the same word or sentence the whole 3 weeks or month in Brazil. Less is more, Mia. Less is more. And I'm
Like
like, how
homeopathy, isn't it?
how do you do that? Like, how do you do? Because we've been trained, or we've been through so many lifetimes of like struggle, pushing, 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 and we talked about this so many times, Tim, but it's like, the magic can only enter when you surrender. So it's also this balance of what is my responsibility, what is not my responsibility, and, honoring the knowing, yet the surrendering. It's just like expansion, contraction, receiving, uh, taking action. And
Mm,
all of this is like, it's like we're being rewired and reprogrammed. And that's part of the new earth template, which is for our nervous system. A little bit like, ugh, our inner child needs to survive. So our inner child is still reacting from survival mode over and over
yeah,
again. Because as soon as we get a trigger, and that's what the controllers want. They want to trigger us so that fear
everybody.
just comes. And when
Hmm.
that fear comes, we automatically go in and we start to react from survival mode. So that's massive. And sometimes, I mean, we know that what is starting to go on inside of us is not true, but we can't help when the fear has like got a grip on us, because in that moment our inner child is in trance and is reliving those traumatic moments from this incarnation and past incarnation. So that's where, like, as you said, also going out in nature, like, how can I find still point? How can I move into 0 point? How can I realign myself? Is more important than ever. But it's again less, don't go and run into taking action from the old template. And that's a lot what we're going to be working with in the 6 month prepare yourself for the new earth. Is like, how do I operate from the new template that I for years now have started to activate, and it's not anchored here on earth. So even if we have it, we haven't seen others
No.
operating from the new template. So here we are, and we need to be together, united to kind of practice this. Mm.
Absolutely. No, it's a very, very important. I'm just going to shut my curtains a
Yeah,
second.
it looks good, like you have this like golden
Yeah, I'm
glow
just like I'm,
inside of you.
I can't see properly. 2 seconds.
Hmm.
There. Now I can. I'm going to return.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's so much about trusting also God's creation. You know, the whole experience we're having now is well chosen,
It's
divinely
very well
orchestrated.
planned. It's
Mm,
very well planned. That I mean, obviously, when we are dealing with a what we'd call almost like a separate entity now, I regard us as separate from the 3D matrix. We are no longer of that vibration, but we still are very much affected by it because we still live within the we're still attached to the confines of the structures, but energetically we've denied, we have separated, we have chosen the pathway of love rather than the pathway of fear. Now, what we're seeing very much at the moment, and it's evident everywhere, is 2024. What an incredible year. We've all been through such such just indescribable transformation. And one of the biggest things that's happened is the magic tap was turned off for the 3D matrix almost a year ago now in the December solstice. And so this year, what we're seeing is we're seeing an escalation of the efforts of the matrix to create magic out of thin air, basically, which they're very good at doing. And they can do so by filling our lives with distractions. And what's telling me is that we're kind of and it's if you look at these actions, if you analyze them from a higher perspective, you can see that the toolbox has now become empty. We've had nearly 5 years of these continual kind of things thrown, and all they've done is serve to wake everybody up. But we're now at the final one, which is what we would regard as the ultimate, which is the threat of conflict. Now you're hearing it in the news, you're hearing it everywhere, all of the rumblings within media and everything, and nothing will trigger those old wounds and patterns, the survival instinct within us, as like, oh, we could be getting involved in this, we could be moving into that. The new template that we operate in on a structural level does not support any of this. It has to be magically activated. So, in order to make magic work, you have to have the attention and the intention of multiple contributors. And if we are removing that contribution, which is why we are always beating the drum about stay in the lane, stay focused, stay in the light, stay in your heart, then you are not contributing to that. However, if you're in fear and you're in survival and you're worried and you're stressed and you're constantly on your back heel like a boxer taking a beating in a ring sort of thing, then you're going to be adding to that magic pot via the frequency with which you are emitting. It's all very simple energetics if you break it down. But saying that, it's extremely easy to talk about it rather than being in the middle of it as a human being having a human experience.
mm.
That's where we are.
Yeah, and that's why actually a lot of the work I did in Brazil with this incredible psychotherapist for 3 weeks, because it was all about catching yourself when you are in that trance, because
Mm,
you go into a trance, and that's, from your childhood, but then also when other financial problems, children, whatever that comes in, and you say the fear of conflict over the whole world. And before you
yeah,
know it, you're in a trance
you
and
are.
you're just in this survival mode. And how do you stop the trance and wake up? And
Mm,
that's the practice now also. But it's like the old template was like built on fear and mistrust, contraction, and like, I don't trust. But the new template is like playfulness, curiosity, and just like, wow, I'm curious. Why is this happening? This dark thing happening?
mm.
How is this gonna, you know, assist us light workers? So it's also like a completely different way of viewing everything, and like, wow, okay, this disaster is coming up now. How is
Mm,
this going to assist us to
yeah.
awaken more people, right? It's like We know it, but we're still like going a little bit back and forth, but we're more and more operating not in the fourth dimensional, but the five dimensional and beyond. And we are also
Absolutely.
those that are like retrieving the frequency of the future Earth, which is Tara and Gaia, right? So we are also retrieving, many of us are timeline jumping, going back and forth, taking the codes and coming back here. So it's an incredible time, but intense.
Very, very intense. I think it's easy sometimes to gloss over the intensity.
Mm,
And as self-aware human beings, we have to understand within our hearts the effect that this has upon us, whether we are holding the light and retaining our magic within ourselves, there is still the residual pressure that we sometimes experience from being. I mean, you might be in the center of that density. You are the one holding the light, and you are the alchemy at this particular moment in time. You might not have an awful lot of backup. You might have backup in another country. You might have backup in your group on social media, but you might be that one person holding your mighty I am presence in the center of the density. And that I'm seeing a lot of that cropping up at the moment. It starts with that alchemical spark right in the center. Say for where you are in Stockholm, or say for example, if you lived in London, the energies are really conflicting at the moment. We're seeing it all come up in order to trigger people into a state of awakening, and it's happening, it's moving, but it's almost like it's in order to create that state of awakening, it's almost like the universe is reverting to the old school conflict mechanism or enemy patterning in order to bring that out of people, and then they move into their hearts once the shadows have been revealed. It's an interesting process, it really is.
mm. Yeah, and I think it's beautiful because we've been talking about this for so long. Like 3 years ago, when we started with the first 6 month journey, it was all about having most of us understanding that you don't need to be a healer to be that person that holds the light. And I think it's beautiful because many of those that are with us have understood that they don't need to chase the dream, the false dream of being a healer that has healing sessions, right?
Mm,
It's like you can be working with anything and you're still as important and you're doing the work. And I feel that that is something that I've shifted a lot the last 3 years, that we've been working a lot with trying to communicate out, like don't go into the false spiritual matrix and believing that you must be a healer or channeler to do
mm,
your mission, right? So I feel that so many are just like honoring whatever, wherever they are located and placed, and the story that is being outplayed in the personality. And from there, using all the techniques that we are gathering when we come together in webinars or workshops or anything. And yeah, it's that practice of becoming so aware that you can just, in 2 seconds, you're there.
yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever other energies and people, imposters, try to take you into the drama, you're like, boom. So that's also something that has been activated deeply inside of us 2024. So we're kind of ready on a completely
Mhm.
new level for 2025.
Yes, we are. I'm excited to feel how the energy template is going to shift now, because what we've made massive movement this year. And of course, when we do move into a new year, there is always an energetic theme that is attached to it. So how is it going to flow? What are we going to be presented with? And when I look into the timeline as it currently stands, it feels like it is going to be a year of unity coming together, as you mentioned earlier on, Mia, the physical bonding and coming together that we have when we work together as a group, be it online or be it in physical, having that structure of support that resonates throughout the wider field, created by that unification, that heart-centeredness. And a lot of our hearts are already communicating continuously, whether
Mm.
we are going about our everyday lives or whether we're actually applying ourselves to a unified spiritual practice. That heart field is becoming more bonded, it's becoming a lot stronger. We're noticing that support. So I'm seeing a lot more support structure in place for the field generally next year, which means it's going to be easier to shoulder the burdens that we were carrying individually previously. And a lot of us are going to really feel a difference within ourselves when that happens, because you've heard the old adage, carrying the weight of the world upon your shoulders. Well, a lot of us have felt that to the point where we experience the physical pain of it. I've felt it myself, where you feel that the entire process of ascension on this world is your responsibility. You're to carry it. If you aren't doing something, then the whole thing's going to go to hell in a handcart. Well, that's not the case. There are so many of us now holding that space for one another. There's so many awakened souls. But I keep overlooking the fact that by the December solstice and moving into next year, we're going to be hitting the golden ratio, which is 50-50 of awakened and unawakened, or yet to awaken, more like, on this planet, which is a massive, and this is where the support network and the structure is going to come from. Just having that many people who are here to do the work with one another. It's quite an amazing thing to witness and look forward to. And
Yeah.
what's going to come of that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, part of our main mission here for us that chosen to incarnate here on Earth right now is to move from separation into unity, right? I mean, the whole experience of coming to earth is to experience separation because there's so much separation here, right? And the what we said yes to is to experience the separation and then from separation move into unity and unification. And that sounds so beautiful, but it's a whole process to understand. Every moment you choose to separate yourself or choose to separate yourself because it's more comfortable, uncomfortable to come together. So
Mm.
breaking all of this all the time and understanding that it's a really old paradigm, believing that you are the only one that can save the world. That's a little bit what the controllers wants, right? And we've been clearing it, both of us. And I've been knowing it's like, it's my ego personality that believes like, oh, if I don't do this now, the whole world will not survive, right? It's like,
Yeah,
no, that is BS, really. It's like we can only
it
do it
is.
together.
It's total BS, and it also stems from the fall of Atlantis,
Yes.
that collective scar that we
Yeah.
all held as we either walked away or sank,
Yeah.
when Atlantis fell. Each of us took that responsibility very personally.
And Lemuria, when the fall of Lemuria also, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's almost like a repeat, it's a rinse and repeat cycle. So now we are facing the end of a paradigm once again. All of it, again, it's shadows, isn't it? It's coming
Yeah.
up. Like, how do I hold this on my own? And if it fails, is it going to be down to me? That, like you say, it's an old template that just needs to be kind of screwed up and put in the
Yeah.
alchemical fire very, very quickly, because it's not going to happen apart from anything else. We're here, we're onto it, and the road to the future is particularly golden, and it's a choice that we make to step onto it and actually hold ourselves in that state of light, that
Mm.
inner consciousness of knowing. And I think a lot of next year is also going to be down to the strength of our trust individually and collectively too.
Yeah, and we're here to create communities of consciousness.
Mm.
That's We are here to be bridges between the awakened and unawakened, and we're here to create these communities of consciousness. And that's what we kind of started to do immediately when we started to work, even if it was many years ago. It's like Divine Union was our first webinar, and then we did
It
the
was
6 month
years ago,
journey. So
wasn't
it's
it?
like, yeah, and the first 6 months journey was like one unity generation, right? So one
Mm.
unity. So and now it's like everyone talks about this, but it's like next level to it. And you can just when you feel that you're like feeling that things are heavy in your life, or you just wake up and feel heavy without any stories, and it's like, okay, why do I see myself being alone on this journey. What does that, what sensations that does it create inside of me? And if I see myself like standing in a circle holding hands, and in the middle this incredible group consciousness is being strengthened, how do I feel, right? So I'm just one of all of this. There's no difference, instead of like standing alone in front or behind a group of people. So you can always use these visualizations to kind of clear your field and move into unity consciousness, because yes, that's the only way to the new template. That's the only way to the new earth. But it sounds easy, but it's not, because we're all the time they're moving in all this streaming, mind controlling energies of separation, right? Even the whatever it is, I don't want to say the words, but whatever they are streaming in is to create separation. And we start to notice that it's like, wow. So can we become the pillars of unity consciousness, harmlessness, compassionate witnessing, unconditional love? We're home.
One of the biggest tests that we will have ever have faced on the ascension pathway would have been that initial reconnection with source, because the whole of the school of the third dimension, the ultimate kind of like the ultimate test of that is to find your way back home. That's why the third dimensional school was set up in the way that it was. You're dumped on a planet with no recollection of who you are. Your third eye's got seven veils on it. Your chakras have reduced to seven rather than the kind of like the multi-dimensional kind of setup that we're privy to now. And of course, it was one of the toughest journeys back to reconnectivity that you could possibly imagine. So we're still kind of working through maybe the wounds of having that experience again and again and again when we incarnated in the third dimension. And to actually realize, oh, I am home now. I have reconnected. I do have the support. And when I did the event with Lavisa the other night, what we were working on is bringing the individual into the center of the world tree for healing, and then calling forth the entire team of light that was working with them, like literally everybody, right back to the beginnings of the origins of your journey on this planet, and saying, look, do you really feel alone still? And like the room is just filling up with all of these beautiful souls that have come to support you here on this journey. That's where we are at the moment. We're kind of realizing just how connected and supported we are. But the human mind and the inner child still is reverting to that pattern of isolation, aloneness, taking the world on as an individual rather than a collective. So next year is going to be very much about realizing that that is no longer the case, and it is simply something that we experience and have left behind us.
Yeah. And even like understanding that we have the direct communication links into God, into Source through our heart. We don't need to go up, we don't need to
Mm.
go out or anywhere. We just go into our heart. And also the most incredible thing about our heart and our human experience is the feelings we got. So it's not about knowing God, it's about feeling God. It's about remembering the feeling. So when we start to heal, we kind of start to allow all the feelings to be felt. And that's like the higher frequency and ability and quality of the human experience that makes us with ease feel all that God is and source is, which is a quality that can only be reached when you dare to feel all of your emotions, which means the highs and the lows, the whole spectrum. So it's a reversal of everything that they taught us, and it's like a reprogramming of everything. And it's like, wow, okay, so feeling it all is good, because then I'm activating and upgrading myself and opening and strengthening all direct communication links into God through my heart. But when I close my heart, I cannot feel God. Mm. So it's
So true. That is so true.
So we cannot read about God and think that we can connect with God. We cannot only hear about God. We need to feel source
Feel
and God. And through before that, we need to do the emotional work and feel safe enough to feel all the feelings, right? Which takes time. So
it does.
yeah, but that's why we're
Does.
here also to support each other. And they're so incredible. Also, I mean, therapists in all different levels. Sometimes you need a psychotherapist for a while because you've been too much up in the higher realms, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you've been too much with a therapist in psychological, so you need the healers that brings you up. And then you have those that works in both. So it's like we have so many also out there ready to support.
We do. We
Mm.
do. And one thing that I'm seeing, which is exceptionally beautiful at the moment, is people who are classically trained in what we would have called the third dimensional version of psychotherapy, who are now mixing their spiritual awakening and their own intuition and their skills into it. So you've got the support that we need, because you can't just talk 3D. You've got to have that balance. You've got to have the support on all levels now. And that's becoming widely available. It's becoming through the field. The institutions are transforming. They might not appear to the untrained eye, but if you look for it, they are full of people who are like you and I. We're all going through this process, and it's beginning to happen. It's beginning to change, but you've got to have the trust and the eye for it in order to be able to see it.
Totally. It's like I said to you before, I just wait for the lawyers that will come, that
Oh
will
yeah,
go into the Akashic records and like, okay, so you're
a
getting a
little forage.
divorce, you're getting a divorce. Okay, let me check your contract here.
Yeah,
Well, it's gonna take 3 to 6 months, or it's like, okay, that makes it easier. So how much will it cost me?
exactly, exactly.
Or can
No
we
way to
clear it
stand there.
faster? Can you help me go up in
Yeah,
the Akashic and just clear it a little bit
yeah.
faster? Is it ready to be completed? It's like I just wait for all of this, like all these incredible beings that have specialized in different areas to dare to bring in their
Their
multidimensional
awakened self into
awareness.
it.
And it's like, I'm gonna take that lawyer that also can go into my Akashic and my
Mm.
ex-partners.
My one of my favorite interactions from this year, and my humble apologies if the lady's actually watching, but I went to a workshop in Birmingham that was organized by Kelly Vikings and her husband, and there was a lovely lady there who was a chief superintendent of a police force in the Midlands, like high-ranking police officer, who had a light language problem. It just kept on coming through like every day. I
Wow.
mean, imagine being in that environment and having to have that, create that time in your space for yourself to bring that light language through, and also the artwork, the symbology that comes with it. And the flow wasn't manageable. It was becoming stronger and stronger and stronger on a day-to-day basis. So these people are in every single what we would call 3D institution, or the ones that powered and supported the matrix previously, hence the collapse from the inside. We look at one example, then everybody else will be able to find an example. They're absolutely everywhere. It's beautiful.
Mm, totally. It's incredible what is happening. So it's good that there's some people out there like that are crazy enough like us that can hold their hand when this instant awakening happens. And you're like,
Yeah.
it's okay, breathe.
Yeah. Breathe yourself through it,
Yeah,
get yourself outside, go and do some
exactly. All
yoga.
is good, all is
Yeah,
good.
it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think every second year or something we're being asked to come together, team, and do this like 6 months journey. And it makes more and more sense as we come
Yeah,
closer and closer why
it does. It
our
does.
team wanted us to start like in January 2025,
Hmm.
and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We just know that we need to be
No.
together, and it's going to be all about like, okay, so how can I activate and use the new template, my true goal blueprint
Yeah.
to
Bring,
operate.
well, I do believe today we are pretty much exactly 2 months away from starting, so 8 weeks,
Yes.
because it'll be our first. our event launch will be on the 27th of January, won't it? That's the first
Yes,
event.
our
So we
first
are.
webinar. Yeah,
Seems like a
exactly.
longer time away than it actually is, but you think 8 weeks travels like that, it just goes. So,
The beautiful thing is that in comparison to the other work we do individually with the separate webinars or maybe two, three in a row, it's like we're going to do a work together for 6 months. So we're going to be this group
whole months.
together. Yeah. And then we have the Q&As, which is also like, I love that because
That's
the
such good fun.
Q&As, yeah, it was so fun because you come with all these incredible questions, guys. And then the work, the activation we did got to be integrated because of the because so many times we're moving too fast because of still that survival mechanism, right? We're like next activation, next healing, next webinar, but now it's like we do this together, we chat in the group, in the Facebook group, everyone share their like experiences with each other, we're having this support, and then me and team come live for the Q&A, and then that integration into like, okay, so all of these codes that came through and this incredible, experience we had, how do I embody this?
How
And
do
that's
how
what I
do I do
like.
both?
Yeah, I like that so much because it becomes this like strong, powerful work during 6 months. And I understand that many of you, we felt that, me and team, that many of you still are like, what is happening? What is happening? I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what to commit to. And we're just like, we wait for you guys. We hold space for you here. But you will feel, if you feel like, okay, but I would love to be with me and team during this first 6 months of 2025 and get all these tools and be together. So sometimes it's nice to be like more, you're doing your own journey, but sometimes it's nice to like, I need this to be
Yeah.
together. Mm.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we open our arms and we welcome each and every one of you, whether you have already stepped onto the pathway and committed to joining us in January, or whether you are still thinking about it, or whether you haven't heard about it, because
Exactly.
the
And
details will be available to come jump on and sign up with us. And I'm really looking forward to May, Mia. It's always a good,
yes,
yeah, the
Wedmore.
Wedmore party. Yay.
Yeah, we still have spots there, and so many of you have already booked. I mean, it was like I don't know how many booked like right after the weekend after
Yeah.
people booked it. So we are like so excited, and it's gonna be something special. Like, yeah, I mean, we already planted some codes already in May last year for
It's
this
had two
one.
good codings, hasn't it, for
Yeah,
the past two
totally.
years, and it's a special, special place anyway, just on the outskirts of the of Glastonbury town itself. So it's a good spot to be.
Yeah, and we have a separate webinar coming up also in
We
beginning
do,
of
we do.
January.
5th of
Yeah.
January, we are going to be launching the new year like little catapults.
Starting 2025 in the highest vibration.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel it's all very well kind of all start the new year easily, but we're going to be fresh out of the traps. We're ready to rock and roll. So Mia and I have got some lovely coding set up
Oh
for the 5th of
man, we
January.
have been clearing this year,
Yeah,
both of you.
yeah,
Both you and me.
and we'll all be all shiny and ready for it. Light will be integrated after the solstice, and
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
clear all of that, what we've experienced this year, finally flush it from the field so we're just ready to go and just embrace whatever happens.
Yes. And a big thank you to all of you that already committed to the work with us because in a little while we're moving in there and do a little transmission because there's like 150 or something souls that are like anchoring in this space with us, preparing the field for the 6 month. And so we are so grateful for all of
Yeah,
you.
we are.
Yeah. Thank you,
Mhm.
team. This was so much
Thank
fun
you,
as
Mia.
always. Our
Lovely to
monthly
see you.
update.
And now you've decided to come back from the jungle and rejoin us again.
Until next time. Yeah.
Yeah, until you go again. Yeah,
And thank you all for popping in and being here with us. Yeah, we
yeah,
couldn't do it without you. We need to be together. We
we do.
understand that more than ever.
We
Many
do.
blessings to you all. Happy
Lots of
ending
love.
of November.
Yeah, nearly there.
Much
Mwah.
love.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.
Hmm. So we do like that.